the alarm! To arms! They are here!
No naked running around, please, okay? Okay.
Good evening, and welcome to the Watchman's Report. I'm Cody Higley, and tonight, as always, we're joined by Jason Foreman, Robert Landon, and our special guest for this evening is Christy Neff, who is on the ballot, the Republican primary ballot for Marion County Commissioner. So, Christy, welcome to the Watchman's Report.
Thank you so much for having me.
Lots to learn about Mrs. Neff here tonight, folks. We'll learn a little bit about her background story and why she decided to run for commissioner and what her goals and visions are if she is elected by the residents of Marion County. So, Christy, tell us, I know you went to Pleasant. You're a Spartan. My dad was a Spartan. So let's go back to the early history, just in case there's some people out there who aren't already familiar with you.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about my family. I'm married to my husband, Mike. We have 3 sons, Kyle, Connor, and Carson, and a new daughter, Sydney. She joined our family in October as my son Connor's wife. So we're pretty tickled. We're growing in our family. Mike and I, we're celebrating 35 years of marriage this December. So we still enjoy hanging out together, and he still calls me his girlfriend. So I think that's a plus. A little bit about my family too is my mom and dad. Their names are John and Rosalind Fulmer, and they live here in Marion. I've grown up here all of my life, and they still live in the same house off of Wilson Drive off of Arcs Road for the past 50 years. So they are definitely community minded. And I went to Pleasant High School, as you said, and I graduated in 1989. And then I went on to Marion Technical College, but I decided to go to work instead of continue at that time because I just had not picked a career yet. So then I went on actually to work in the Business Sales Center at GTE, which many people know that is now Verizon, and it's changed so many names, but my dad actually worked for GTE and retired there. And so it was a great company that, fed our family for many years. And so after GTE, I went on, Mike and I had met by that time and got married, and we decided to have kids. And so for us, it was really a blessing that we were at that time financially stable enough for me to stay home with the kiddos. And from there, we figured out after Carson was born, our third, that it was very hard to have a household with only one income. From there, I ended up trying to decide really what to do, but also to stay home with our children because it was a definite priority for us. And I went on to become a daycare provider in our home through the state of Ohio. So that was a real blessing because then we were able to welcome other children into our home. Our kids grew up with other kids in the neighborhood and in the community. But it gave me a very good sense of some of the struggles that we faced in Marion County and some of the families that really struggled. Because this was a program that I really appreciated. It helped us as far as to have an income for our family, but it also made sense because it caused, the only way you could actually have this program was if you were a working parent. So the way that it worked was if you worked, you had daycare, and that was me. And so it made a lot of sense. And so for us, being in that environment, and after my kids grew up, we decided from there that maybe a different path and the opportunity for Buckeye Ridge Habitat for Humanity came about. And being that I had worked within the community with families. It was just very appealing to do something different and to serve in a different way. And so I went to Habitat from there, and I was focused on housing opportunities for our community, and Habitat equaled advocacy for our community, and that's where I'm at. I guess that's a long explanation.
Hey, everybody's got a story, you know, and
Okay.
it's nice to learn a little bit about your candidates, because unfortunately people don't know a whole lot about them. They may see a name on a ballot, or they may have some awareness of them in some other way, shape, or form, but they don't really know who they are as people and what their background stories are. So I appreciate you sharing that. Now, I will ask a follow-up question. So
Sure.
I read somewhere that you moved to Marion, your family moved to Marion when you were, I think, 6, it said. Where did they come from? Where were your folks from?
We were actually in a town called Union, Ohio, and it was very close to Dayton, Brookville area. And my mom and dad grew up in a small town called Lewisburg, and it's one of those that you sneeze and you're past. But they met on a bus and fell in love, and they've been together for over 56 years. So yeah, so my dad actually started, he was a Vietnam veteran, and came back from the war and ended up starting with GTE, climbing poles, and started in that capacity, moved up to supervisor roles, and then had the opportunity to move to Marion. And there was actually an office at the very end of the street. We stayed in Union when we were little, and until Dad got established, and then bought a house that was right down from the GTE office on Wilson Drive. So it was kind of neat. Sometimes he was able to walk to work. So that's how we came to Marion. So I started with, I believe it was first grade at Pleasant School.
Okay. So when you guys got married, I know you recently moved out of the city of Marion and into Marion Township. Did you and Mike live in the same house like the entire time that you guys were married, or did you move around the city?
We were about 3 years at a small house on East Church Street. And then Mike's family actually owned a home on Center Street. His great-grandmother, actually owned the house on Center Street. And then she passed away, and then it was inherited by Mike's mom and dad. And then they fixed up the house, remodeled it, and then we bought it from them when they decided to move. So it's been a house that was in the family for many, many years. I think it's close to 100 years that it was actually in the family.
Oh, wow.
And
cool.
yes. And then we actually lived there for 30 years. And so it was a real blessing. We raised our children in that home, and we've seen a lot of changes since we lived there, but it's really encouraging. It's really encouraging. I think a lot of our homes are really improving now. The housing stock is improving. People are paying attention to the community more. And but our oldest son, Kyle, has some developmental delays. And so he's 29 now, but he's going to be with us. So it's kind of the three of us right now, because Connor lives outside of the city. He lives towards Columbus, where he works, close in that area. And then Connor and Sydney both. And then Carson bought a house here in Marion as well. So he's out. So when we were actually looking for a place that had a little more room to where Kyle could kind of have his own space as an adult. And this house is definitely that. We live off of Forest Hill Drive. It's right off of Barks Road. And we went from 2,000 square foot to 3,500 square foot. So when people talk about downsizing, that didn't happen to us. But it's a real blessing. We made the change for our family, and we were really tickled to do that. And it's one of those houses that we'll probably be working on it for a very long time, because we have a pink bathroom, a blue bathroom. I'm trying to think of all the other colors in the house, but we're having a good time, especially with Mike having a lot of experience in construction, and myself with what I do for my job, I do as well. And so we're having a good time, and Kyle has his own floor, so he's pretty tickled. So that's
now
a little bit about us.
You mentioned Mike, and for those of you in the audience that aren't aware, Mike Neff, Christy's husband, served on Marion City Council until this past year when they made the move. And then because they moved out of the city, he was forced to give up his seat on council. But Christy, as the wife of a councilman, what lessons or what takeaways did you get out of that experience?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a tough one sometimes when you've got conflict going on. And so what we've learned actually is that, well, I'll give you a little bit of background with Mike. It was actually 2019, I believe, when he first ran. And it actually was sparked from us having conversations at home. So we started out, I was working for Habitat at the time and had a lot of frustrations with the community and how we were with our zoning, with all different aspects of my job and trying to figure out how best to serve. And Mike has some talents. And he said, you know what? I can see the struggles that you are having on city council. And maybe I can step in and try and serve in this way and see if there's some way I can help. And that's really how it started. And he ran for office and was elected by the people and sat on council for quite some time and was very frustrated. So government moves at a very slow pace sometimes. And I guess that's what you could say was one of the lessons we learned. But he really pushed through and he brought a lot of things, a lot of legislation forward that would to benefit the city. He worked very hard to collaborate with those on city council. He's an information junkie and I am the same. So that is kind of where we mesh really well. When he's got a problem, he came up with, instead of just talking about it, you want to come up with solutions. And he and I are very much alike in that regard. So what I learned from him serving on council was he would bring those issues home and we would talk about connectors in the community. How could he solve this problem by him having the voice on council and me doing research behind the scenes, him doing research behind the scenes and trying to come up with the best result. So I think by serving on council, and I'm very proud of him for serving on council because it was a big step to come out of the, just as a resident to step forward and say, I think I can help. And then kind of having some times where you were just feeling defeated, that was a real struggle. But then you have those I guess you can say a check mark to say, hey, I did a good job and I'm proud of him for stepping forward. And that's actually how it came about with me. We as a family made a decision that this is something I would step forward in. This was recent, but it's been a long time coming. So my husband has been one of those that has said, you know what, you would be great in stepping forward as a leader in the community, as you already are. He sees me that way. I have a lot of people that I work with that view me as a leader, and I believe that's true. I enjoy the service of others, and I enjoy being able to make a difference. And so where I serve right now at Buckeye Ridge Habitat is that I serve as a program director. And so a lot of the programs such as construction, our restore, but one of the most important things that I do is advocacy. And so that's given me a platform to speak up. So to find out what the issues are and come up with a solution. I am very action oriented. And so I think by having that experience in my role right now, I think is going to push me towards serving in a different way. And for me also, I served on, and have served ever since Mike actually was a candidate. I was served on the Republican candidate committee. And I'm very proud to say that that many of the candidates that you see serving right now, I've had a hand in supporting them. So I'm very happy to see that they are flourishing in the positions that they hold right now. And it's kind of one of those that makes me humbled and says, wow, maybe it's good for me to step up a little bit now instead of behind the scenes.
Yeah, excellent. Lot to digest there with some follow-up questions here, but
Sure.
just kind of wrapping up your early history. Were you raised in a politically conscious household? were you raised in a Republican conservative household, or were you a dirty Democrat who saw the light at some point here in the not too distant future and reformed through the process?
Wow, that's a question. Well, I'll tell you what, my mom and dad have been Democrats all their lives. And I think and we were not politically, it wasn't as though it was at the forefront of our lives at all times. But I do feel like Democrats were different before now. They're different than what they are now. I feel like there's so many people that they say that they're Democrats, but they're not they're not radicals. They're not. I see a lot of people that are Democrats that have gone in a direction where instead of thinking logically and saying, okay, let's work together, let's collaborate. It's not all about party. It's about people. And I just feel like there's many roles where I think if we could it would be nonpartisan. I think it would be for the better. But that's not where we are right now. I honestly thought I was a Democrat for many years. And this is kind of a funny story. I had the values of a Democrat where I'm saying, okay, I believe in for the people. I believe in people having the right to choose. I feel like in different aspects of their lives, I feel like government sometimes can have too much oversight. I do feel like, but then it ended up, as I was speaking politically, as I was looking at issues, it was more Republican oriented. I was looking at accountability. I was looking at how I do believe in right to life, and I do believe in protecting life. So there's many things that I just feel as though I believe raising my children without outside influence. So I don't feel sometimes that the values of Democrats align completely with what I believe. So my parents, very honestly, they speak as though they're Democrats, but I believe they're true Republicans. But they're actually very excited to vote for me in the May primary. So I guess that's a long explanation, but I do feel strongly about my Republican values and protecting those values, preserving constitutional republic. I believe that public safety is a huge asset to us. I believe in protecting citizens, supporting law enforcement, providing a fair justice system. I believe in the Second Amendment to the right to bear arms. I believe in education highly, to support curriculum and to include civics, history, and the Constitution. But I do believe that minimum federal interference or minimal interference from government is the way to go. I think government by the people is our right.
Did you watch Donald Trump's State of the Union last night?
I did. And I do
Did it?
believe in some of, go ahead, ask your question. I'm sorry.
Well, the most striking part of that, and there were several similar episodes, but when Trump asked the chamber, the joint session of Congress, to stand to show their agreement with the statement that the primary purpose of the American government is to protect and serve, I'm paraphrasing, American citizens and not illegal aliens. And of course, the Republicans in the chamber stood and applauded, and there were the stoic Democrats sitting on their asses. They can't even agree with that statement. So the Democrat Party is un-American, and it's become so radicalized that I don't know what they could possibly do. I mean, you take pretty much any issue, and they are on a side that's wrong. I mean, it's just just objectively false and against the interests of American citizens. So Would you agree with that statement, or am I being a right-wing radical?
That's a tough one because it's awfully loaded. I do believe that people need to stand up for our citizens. I think that we need to protect ourselves. I do believe, I'm uncertain as to how. I think that we've got so many things happening to where I do believe that people have the right to protest, but I think it needs to be peacefully. I think that we need to definitely protect our borders. I'll tell you a story about my family. My grandfather was in World War II, was in actually in Belgium at the time, and met a lady that he fell in love with, and she was a citizen of Belgium, and so she was in Lalavier, was the town that they met in, and they fell in love and got married there. So my grandmother, her name was Tres Crow, they decided to come to the United States to live. So she actually came through Ellis Island and as a war bride, but one of her most proudest moments was when she became a citizen. And she worked very, very hard to have that happen. And so for my grandmother, it was a privilege for her to become a citizen, but she had to work for it. And she was one of the biggest staunch supporters of immigration. So she wanted people to come here, but they had to do it the right way. So I believe that, yes, I think the Democrats should have stood with that statement and supported it, because I believe that's what we are all about. We are a country of immigrants, but it needs to be done the right way. And so I believe that was a statement that everyone should have stood for. But I think it's loaded. So I think when President Trump
Grandma
had made
didn't
the
get on
statement,
welfare as soon as she came here, did she?
no, she did not. She
There you
worked.
go. There you
And
go.
so she worked
You
very
can't have
hard.
the welfare state, Christy, if you're going to have open borders. So
I understand.
I was just curious because you brought up the difference, the transformation of being raised in a Democrat family and realizing that you were, in fact, in agreement with the principles of the Republican Party, which is where you find yourself now. So I was using that as an example of support because I think that it was just sheer nonsense, the reaction out of the Democrats at the State of the Union. And then you got the good old Ilhan Omar sitting there screaming from the chamber. They should have hauled her ass out of there with how she was behaving. But anyway, enough about Trump, enough about the State of the Union. You've been with Habitat for Humanity, Buckeye Ridge Habitat for Humanity, as the program director for the last 10 years. You said that a key component of that is advocacy. So if you were to list a resume of kind of the main advocacy projects or accomplishments, what would that consist of?
Well, I'll tell you what, I've got kind of a list of committees and things where I serve, and I'll read you some of those. I actually serve on the Marion Pep Club, if you've heard of that. It's called the Parks Enhancement Project, is what PEP stands for. And we were a group that was actually formed out of Leadership Marion of 2018. And I'm very proud of that, to where we saw that there was a need within the community with Project Playground. We had spoken to Parks Department about that. And said, what is the plans for improving Project Playground? And that actually, the plans were to demolish it and not to replace it. So that was an advocacy point where we as a group decided, okay, let's come up with a plan. And this community raised over $850,000 through grants and personal donations, support by the Marion Community Foundation. We had so many different organizations and personal donations that supported this project. The most important was the Marion Rotary Club. They actually donated over $400,000 from the sale of the Rotary Towers. So we were actually chosen as the project. And their main project to be gifted the money to. And we in turn built the Marion Rotary Centennial Playground. So that is a huge point. I believe that was it was advocacy motivated because it was a playground actually built for those of all abilities. And that means it's accessible to people with disabilities that have mobility issues. It was designed for everyone. So that was a huge point that we were part of. And it wasn't just me. It was a group that loved the community and felt there was a need. So we acted. I'm actually a member of Marion Rotary Club. I'm very proud to be. I'm also a Marion Noon Kiwanis member and board member there. And that organization is geared towards serving the needs of children. And I'm going to give a little plug. Actually, March 14th, we have the pancake breakfast. So people need to come out and actually see us out at Dry Rivers.
All you can eat, folks.
All you can eat. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you check me out, if you call on me, I'll give you a free ticket. So come on out and see me too. I'm a part
Quite
of
an offer there.
What's that?
I said that's quite an offer there.
That is a big offer because
exclusive on the Watchman's Report.
Right. Where else you get free pancake dinner
now,
tickets?
I think I've got to
The
put a
Watchman's
limit on
Report.
that
We only
because
have
my
15
campaign won't quite fund all of it. So that'll be something we talk about. But it's an amazing organization. And the Pancake Breakfast is actually the biggest fundraiser that we have of the year. So when people come out, and it's great because you come out and meet your neighbors, it's fellowship, everybody has a good time. We can even invite you to flip some pancakes, and that's a lot of fun to do. But it's also an organization that is all people that are service oriented, just like the Rotary Club. And another group that I'm a part of is 100 Women Who Care. And I don't know if you've heard of this before. It is a group of women that we hear from nonprofits, and they come and present to our group, and we give them direct funds. So it's an easy program. And the last time, I believe, the recipient received over $12,000. So it's something where it's a simple mechanism that gets money into the hands of nonprofits and people that are serving within our community. I also serve with women
through the Marion Community Foundation, or does it have a separate endowment?
Actually, what's nice about that, Marion Community Foundation serves as kind of a fiscal agent. So people are able to actually make their donations to them. So like, for instance, I can say, I want my donation to go through them. They take it out of my bank account. It goes directly to the recipient. So they are great where they actually, they figured out that there's a need for financial help to make it easier for people to donate. And they stepped up to help the organization. So that's another way that when people see a need, they step up and try and serve the purpose. I'm also a part of Women's Business Council. So it's women supporting women in business. They're a great organization that is very supportive of the community. If you've ever heard of the Athena Award, they actually celebrate women within our community that are leaders. And that's coming very soon in March as well. I'm a part of the...
Can I ask you a question about the Athena Award?
Sure.
If I self-identify as a woman, can I be nominated for the Athena Award?
It's a loaded question. I'll tell you how it works. You actually have to be nominated by somebody else.
There you go.
I think somebody should nominate Robert and I.
Oh, I was going to say I nominate Cody.
Oh my.
We'll be up for next year's Athena Award, folks.
You can be nominated, but it doesn't mean you're going to be chosen. So there is a committee.
Listen, I've been called Mr. Clean several times, but I've never been called Mrs. Clean. Okay.
You're rotten.
Give that man a wig.
Well, we can give you some paint.
Right. Sorry to interject some humor here, Christy. I couldn't help myself.
You're good. Okay. Well, I want to tell you too, I'm a part of the Marion Housing Coalition. And this is something that's really important. Many people don't know that we have a housing coalition, but what's happened with that was that we found through talking to other organizations, being in the community, many of us were doing the same thing. So instead of us just staying in our own lane and being siloed, we figured out if we come together collaboratively, we could solve some problems. So right now what we do is we have a board, and we're actually supported by the United Way, and they give us some funds to where we can work on education, we can work on action items, we can work on safety, we can work on different projects within the community that are geared towards housing. And we're making progress. We're picking projects. We're trying to have people come to us when they have issues, and we're trying to then advocate on the state, federal, and local levels to see how we can be more effective. I also serve on a Marion Homeless Coalition.
What kind of projects with the Housing Coalition? I'm just curious.
That's okay. Well, I'll tell you one thing that happened recently. The mayor actually has started a task force that is geared towards housing. And it actually reverted into, we work with municipal court. And so they're all of us that come and bring projects, or projects are brought to that organization. Excuse me. And so from that task force, there was a project of a home that needed to, we found that it was actually a hoarding situation. The house was in serious disrepair, and the resident of that home was not able to take care of it. He also didn't feel like anything was wrong with the home. So what we did was, he was not responding to law enforcement. And so they had taken it to the court system. They had law enforcement out to his home. He was feeling very much like he was being pressured, but didn't know what to do. So it ended up through the task force. I suggested maybe having someone like me through Habitat go and approach him and see if we could actually get him in a safer environment. Through all of us working together, we had law enforcement, we had court, we had council, we had, I think it was health department, council on aging. We had all of these different agencies working together. And then we went out and actually worked with Aspire Ministries. They were able to get some furniture. We were able to convince him to leave the home so we could identify what was wrong with the home. We then ended up finding out that the house needed to be demolished. So from that instance, we were able to work with the Marion County Land Bank to say, would you accept this house and put it up for demolition? They said yes, but then there was a matter of convincing the homeowner to transfer the ownership to that house to the land bank. So with the Housing Coalition, we approached them with a program called Cash for Keys. And what this is we ask the Housing Coalition to provide funds to offer to the family to give them a possibility of paying rent for a new home, getting furniture for a new home to become established. So the Housing Coalition gifted us the money. We offered it to the homeowner. They accepted it, turned the deed over to the land bank, and now the homeowner's in a new healthy space. And the coalition now can say, okay, we had a part in this, and now they'll be tracking this family and the demolition of the home from here on out. And so the land bank is part of the Housing Coalition. The law enforcement's part of the coalition. Like I said, the United Way, Marion Matters. We have several agencies that are all put together. We have realtors. So what happened was everybody was talking to each other about this situation, and then ultimately, how do we solve it? And that's when the coalition said, yes, we as a coalition have all heard of the situation. We agree. And then we provided funds. So what's happening now in this community, I'm seeing so much more of, is instead of just saying, okay, yes, it's a problem, let's pass it to somebody else, they're actually stopping and saying, okay, let's come up with a mechanism, let's come up with a plan to actually have a good result. And so that was one situation.
Did you call the TV show Hoarders? I don't know if that's still a thing, but
oh,
it was that part of the protocol.
Absolutely, would love to, but that's one of those that, to show people that this is more prevalent than what we think,
You ever watch that? You ever watch that, Christy?
I love that show, but I also feel like, oh, I feel bad for the people because it's being out there. And what's nice about what we did and not a hoarder show was we showed the homeowner respect, and we knew that he was in a situation he couldn't get out of because he didn't know what to do. And so we as a community ended up coming up with a solution, helped him keep his dignity, and then we know that that property is now going to be taken care of, and it's going to help the landscape of that neighborhood change, because it's no longer going to be a hoarder house that they live next to, that there's animals encroaching on it, that there's the values of those homes have gone down because of it. It's a good solution.
Oh, good. I'm glad it worked out for him.
Yes.
So I think we got a pretty good understanding of your early history, and then also your professional career with over the last 10 years in particular with Buckeye Ridge Habitat for Humanity. And you talked about kind of your decision to get into this race, to run for Marion County Commissioner under the Republican ticket. What specifically is your motivation for trying to get that position? What, if you were to go out on and do a stump speech and say, if I get elected Marion County Commissioner, I want to accomplish XYZ during my elected term?
Well, my reasoning behind it is that I just feel like there's some major concern with what's happening right now. And that major concern is the budget. I think that many people don't understand or haven't been told that that the costs that we're incurring right now within the county have not been just magically appearing. This has been over a period of time. And what's happened with me and having the idea to run, the motivation to run, is I am an information junkie. So what I do is I've been researching the position for quite some time to see, okay, what's actually happening in our communities. So through doing that, I just feel as though I am truly somebody that I believe is that connector. I'm looking for when there's a problem. I think that I research that, I look for solutions, and most importantly, I surround myself with people that are smart and resourceful, and I enjoy being a fixer for a problem. So for me, I just feel like this is a time where I'm worried about where we are. And I feel like this is a time for me to be able to step up and say, I believe I can help with a solution. To be honest, I've met with what I've been doing. I've been meeting with many people to gather information. So for me, right now, I've met with all 3 commissioners, which has been very informative. And what's nice about that, I'm finding out that all 3 commissioners have a real love for this community. They've done an excellent job with managing what they have to work with. So for me, I just believe that I can add to the situation. Mark Davis has decided not to run. And so I spoke with him at length about running. He's supporting me in that role. I spoke with Andy Applefeller. He was extremely supportive as well in giving me great information to work with. Kevin Davidson was as well. He just is, he was very open to asking and answering questions out of me and giving me good information too. And what I've been doing too is I've been visiting all the departments. I'm still have quite a bit to go, because as I looked at the budget and looking at all of the responsibilities of our county, it was pretty daunting. And as a regular citizen, as somebody who's not been in a role of service for the county, it was pretty overwhelming. But what's nice is one of my most important meetings I've had so far was with the auditor's office, and for them to explain where we are and where we've been with our budget. It's been actually supplemented for many years through COVID money. And so now, because we had a deficit for many years, and we had that carryover that we could kind of put back into the pot when it didn't quite balance, that's dwindling. So now we've got to come up with solutions to now before it hits us next year when we might not have that carryover. So with those things in mind, I just felt as though I am a great person to tackle a problem that I see. And it's not a one-person job. It's not, and that's what I like about the commissioners. It's a body that's working together. It's not an individual. You're working as a body for the county to help to make sure that they're being fiscally responsible, but also making sure that all of those departments have what they need. They need the tools to be able to operate. And so that is something that I believe that I will be very good at making decisions, not necessarily easy decisions, but decisions that are for the betterment of the community.
Yeah, certainly the county is facing financial challenges just like the city. And this budget year for 2026, actually, they approved, the three commissioners, two of them, Andy Applefeller and Mark Davis, voted to approve a budget with a $4.5 million deficit. Kevin Davidson was the only one to oppose that budget precisely because it was a deficit. Now, our friend, the Swamp Fox, has published some articles on the county's situation here, and it's an issue of spending. So they can say that they've received COVID money. Well, they spent COVID money, and now that the water faucet has been turned off, they're sitting there saying that they're thirsty, even though their guts are about to explode from drinking water for the whole year, you know? So go ahead and scroll down, Jay, so we can see, total budget expenditures increased by 19 million between 2015 and 2024. They brought in even more money than that during that period of time, but substantial increases. Property tax revenues, increased by 89.11%. Legislative and executive expenditures, so all your departments, what their expenditures are, increased by just over $11 million, an increase of 189.55%. So that's the administrative costs of county government. That is excessive. And if you pull up, we'll see another article here, and this breaks down different departments. Now go ahead and scroll down a little bit more, Jay. Like I said, this is all the same. It's just crazy spending, and well above 189%. We have not seen that rate of inflation even during Bidenomics and the madness that happened during that era. It's only about 30-some% actually in labor costs and associated costs. So Marion County engaged in profligate spending during that period of time. All the while, county population actually declined slightly. So it's not a situation where you can look at the numbers and justify it like Delaware County or Union County to say, oh, during a 10-year period, we gained 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 people. So it stands to reason that we're going to have increased expenditures. That's not the situation. It's been just out of control spending for the most part. Scroll down, Jay, on this. Let's see. Go ahead and go down. There's a graph. So you can see they're kind of charted out, revenues and expenditures. Now pull up, we talk about spending within the departments. Pull up the article, Jay, with the total number of county employees. While Jay is looking for that, is that part of your plan, is to rein in spending, Christy? And that may include some austerity, right?
Well, where I'm at right now is I am very much trying to dig in to figure out where the issues are. And so that's where department, and figuring out what the spending is, what the needs are. And that's where my job would be, to definitely dig in to say, okay, what is the next steps? Because we can't continue. And I think just from what you're showing and what you've been reviewing is definitely true. I think we've got a spending problem, but we've got to figure out how to manage that. Many people actually say, okay, the county commissioners have to, they can do this, they can do this, they need to make this happen immediately. Well, that is something that we'd love to do in county government and in our government, is to make quick changes, but it's not always within their power. The government that we have right now is actually, the Ohio Revised Code manages a lot of how things need to operate. And so sometimes the commissioners, and I believe all these departments, have to manage within a certain regiment, basically. So that's where my job, as an elected, if I'm elected to this position, is to dig in and say, okay, what do we have to do as far as following the Ohio Revised Code, and what is more of a want and a need? So I definitely want to dig in to see what can be done, because about making cuts that are going to be drastic down the road if we don't come up with some solutions. Now, I do think that we need to look at outside sources. So I think as commissioners, we also need to be in a position to drive wealth into the community. Economic development is huge. I think we need to come up with some serious planning to do that. I honestly think that we need a comprehensive plan for the community to say, okay, these are some steps we're going to take. And it's not just talking about it, it's doing it. So that is where I think I can bring some talent to the floor to say, okay, I've been in some roles to where I see that needle move, and I want to see that needle move quicker. But we'll have to see once I get into office if that's something that can happen quickly or if it's going to need some time. But I'll tell you what, I will dig in and do my best to come up with solutions in a collaborative manner to where I say, okay, let's surround yourself with people that are smarter than you and come up with some planning, because this is going to affect our daily lives if things don't happen. And for me, to be really honest, many people see this as a part-time job as a county commissioner, and I will give you my word that I will view this as a full-time position and not part-time. So if I am in this role, the needs of the county will be my priority. And that is truly where I will give you my word that I will do my very best in this role.
Christy, that's a great point, because I know we've talked about in the past at Operation Marion Washington about the economic development director position and all the limbo fiasco stuff going on with that. What are your thoughts on that? What is your solution? Do you kind of agree with Mayor Collins, where some of his proposals? Do you have something else in mind for that position, or would you scrap it entirely?
That's tough, but I'll tell you what. I've actually spoken to, I had a meeting for the Marion Area Chamber of Commerce, and they actually had proposed a plan to come up with actually a comprehensive plan that involved the county and the city in all aspects, and saying, okay, let's come up with a plan for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now. And with that type of planning, you can say, okay, what are our needs? What are our abilities to meet those needs? And what do we need to drive those needs to be completed? So I really believe that it's going to take more than one brain to come up with these solutions. So I think that having an actual department for economic development, I think, is really important. But I don't know that we need an entire other entity to do that. So I think I do agree with the mayor that I think we can absorb some of those responsibilities into what we have now as far as the personnel. But I do believe that we need somebody that has some experience with driving that economic development towards our community. I've spoke with several people in the community, leaders within our community that have all different ideas. So I think what needs to happen is we bring those people to the table and we actually come up with some serious plans on how to move forward. But I don't think it's just in the wind. It can't just be where we talk about it. It has to be a planning situation. And like I said, I'm a learner. So I grab information, I put it together and come up with ideas, and then you have to put something into action. But we're in a crisis situation within our county and within our city to come up with ideas for growth. And I think that's the only way that we're going to bring more revenue to this community, because if not, we're going to be hurting for some time. That's my take.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, what can government do to foster economic development?
Well, for us, we need to open up some eyes, open up some properties, open up some ideas, and possibly loosen some of our zoning, but also make sure that we have some guidelines in hand. For instance, the Marion County Land Bank has worked really hard to make sure that when properties are demolished or if they're taken on for development or for rehabbing, that they're done correctly. And so I think that when we're bringing people into the community, we need to kind of have that as where we're highlighting what we can do. I mean, we are, and I'll tell you what, I do believe in that the award that we received for being the strongest town. I think that we need to highlight ourselves to the community. I think we need to look at outside developers to come in to give us some ideas and models of what they've done in other communities, and vet those people highly to say, okay, we are seeing an influx of people wanting to come to our community, but do we have the mechanisms to make it work if they come here?
Mm-hmm.
We basically need to sell ourselves, but not sell ourselves short. So I don't want it to be that we say, come see us, but we're going to give you the keys to the city or to the county. It has to be where it's equal footing. It has to be respectful. And I also believe that we need to look at any kind of mechanism we can for an influx of revenue. And that includes collaborative grants. I think we need to be seeking those. So as a county commissioner, I think that's high on my priority list, is to say, okay, when we're looking to do a project, come up with that plan to say, okay, we want to have this project done, but how are we going to make it work? If we don't have the funds to do it, how do we find the funds to do it? And if that's through seeking grants and having people within the community give us insight, you can't just be in a silo. The county can't be only in its own space. We have to be willing to reach out to others for ideas and solutions to problems that we may have. So it can't just be within the walls of the county building. It has to be that we reach out within our community and those beyond to say, how'd you do it? So let us use you as a template. So I'm open for ideas.
Look at Allen County and also look at Hancock County. Do a case study in their comparison of their gross domestic products and also their revenues and budgets and their sales tax policies, and also for the municipalities, their income tax policies.
Okay.
The clearest way for economic development, the most sustainable way, is to allow the free market to work. Government comes in and hampers things through regulations and also taxation. And Marion County, for example, one of its primary sources of funding is the sales tax. Well, it doesn't have any incentive because it's sitting at a 1.5% local sales tax and a gross tax of 7.25%. So there is a direct correlation. If you look into all of Ohio's 88 counties and you look at the counties that have lower taxation, they actually have much higher uh, sales tax receipts and much more economic development coming in. Um, it's there. It just needs to be implemented, and it may result, it may require uh, trimming of the budget, but go ahead and scroll down on this one, Jay, real quick, just to kind of show people. So yeah, Hancock County, 6.75%. Go ahead and show the map, just people can see that. Um, so really nothing exceptional from an incentive standpoint when it comes to the sales taxes. And they're also not there for income tax rates. City of Marion has 2%. It's lost all its business pretty much ever since it implemented the municipal income tax in 1959 and gradually expanded it. So that's it. That's what government can do. Government can implement policies like that in favor of business and the free market, because government itself has never been proven to be able to create sustainable economic development. Now go back just again, I think the budget, finances, economic development, number one issue in Marion County. Would you agree with that? I think you already
I
have
would.
agreed with it. Would you stress it? All right, let's go. Jay,
Well,
pull up that
because it
last
drives
article.
other mechanisms. It drives other ways for growth, and that's what our budget does. It helps us operate. So that is why it's top priority, because it's going to affect different areas of our county if we don't have a sustainable budget, if we're not monitoring that budget. I will say, in talking to the commissioners right now, and I'm not going to speak for all of them, but I think all of them in talking to them, were actually in support of passing the budget because they knew they had to. It wasn't necessarily something that any one of them wanted to do, but they knew it had to happen for them to operate. But what I see them putting into place and what I would like to have continue as an elected is monitoring. It is that quarterly review that's a sit down, hammer it out type of review. But also the day-to-day, all those expenditures that are coming through, for questions to be asked as those are coming through. It's not something that's unheard of. Everyone does it in their household. Everyone does it in their job. You're looking at that budget as being something that's fluid. It's an idea of what you might be spending. But boy, if you can save money on some place or some way, it's your job to do that. And so that's where I think the commissioners are willing to do that. And I, as a new commissioner, would absolutely do that. So that is monitoring the budget, not just passing it and moving it through.
Yeah, and if they have power. They can say that, oh, well, the Ohio Revised Code, says XYZ for this department or this function of local government. That's not a blank check. And
no, it isn't. I agree.
They can give pushback. And it's not, and Mark Davis went out and, just kind of said, yeah, we spent more money than we've got. Just kind of, and I'm not a finance expert and I really don't know anything about finance. And well, we could have one of those, those mercury filled birds that like just go like that. You can just put approve stamp on the nose, and that can be the commissioner if that's all you're going to do when it comes to requests for funding. You need to put that thought that you were talking about. You need to be responsible fiscal stewards of the taxpayer's dollar.
Right.
And people should demand nothing less. In this article that we're going to pull up here, that is the exact opposite of what this shows. So between 2021, Christy, and 2024, they increased the number of employees, county employees, by, what was it, 70 and a half? Go ahead and scroll down. So it went from 409 and a half, and the half is a part-time employee. Scroll up. Don't go all the way. Don't go all the way. 409 and a half to 480.
Wow.
And the average, according to the Ohio Department of Development, the average salary for a local government employee in Marion County is $53,495. So, Robert, you're well aware of this. What's the number one category for expenses when you're talking about
Payroll.
running a business or running a government?
Payroll.
Payroll, salaries, benefits.
It is.
So this is, it's not justified. That amount of increase, hiring 70 and a half more employees in a 3-year period when you had a slightly declining population, how can that be justified? Go ahead and scroll
Right.
down, Jay.
Well, and Cody, I think you're making some great points too. I'm going to just quickly interject here
Yeah, go
because
right ahead,
you
man.
know we have combined services with Marion Public Health that used to be a city department and a county department separated. Each government entity had their own, so that's combined. We have Marion County Combined Dispatch that's been combined. There's been talks about combining fire departments and so on. So there could be potentially more room. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just saying there could be potentially some other opportunities to combine some services. The other thing I would throw out too is you mentioned something about they do have authority, because oftentimes people think that county government is just a creature of the state. And for the most part, they are. However, they do have the ability, and Cody, you're going to like this one, they do have the ability to adopt a charter. They can adopt a charter just like a city can. And in fact, we have case example here with Cuyahoga County being combined with, I think they were the ones that I seen was combined with the city of Cleveland into a combined city county government. So, you know, there's just opportunities. I think there's a township in a city or a township in a county that merged out in the Miami Valley area I saw. So it seems to be, a little bit more spots across the country that are doing that. But not everybody's on board with that either. Everybody likes their own forms of government and keeping things status quo. But to Cody's point, just to dispel that myth, they do have more authority than sometimes people let on.
Yeah, they definitely do, Robert. And it just, it takes the advocacy, Christy. We need some advocacy
That's
from the
my word.
commissioners to protect the taxpayers' interests from all these departments that
Wait,
are wanting.
I want to know what committee are you not on, Christy? I mean,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, Robert. Good Lord.
Well, I didn't tell you a few extra ones that I was on. I was actually, I'm the Marion Popcorn Festival trustee as well, so I serve alongside them. And one of my most proud is that I'm a part of the Aspire Ministries. I'm a board vice chair. So I bring my faith into my work as well. And I make sure that I'm trying to be impactful. So that's where those that I choose to be a part of, they need to be action oriented. And all those that I'm a part of are definitely that. And I've been on Capitol Hill talking to our representatives and senators about Marion, Ohio. They know who we are. I feel very comfortable with speaking about who and what our needs are and advocating for those rural communities such as ours that I think sometimes are forgotten. So I have no problem speaking about this community and saying, hey, we need to be seen. We need to be heard, and we need to be supported. So I think local level, state level, and federal level are definitely where we need to have our voices. And to be honest, I see everyone that I'm representing in this role as being my neighbor. So I don't see them as constituents or those people over there. they're my neighbors because we're all in this community together, and that's how we should all view each other and advocate for those that need that hand up and not a handout kind of a mindset. And I think that we can do much better when we're working together, collaborating, and making sure that everyone's taken care of.
Do you ever see Mike?
Do I ever see what?
Do you ever see Mike? Like, do you guys ever see each other than tonight when you were on the Watchman's Report?
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh, I got kind of a.
I don't know. Do all those committees and stuff. I really don't. Like, I'm on like a few, and it's just I already don't. But I devote a lot of time to this kind of crap. So, you know, I guess you're putting your time to better use, Christy.
No, well, I'll tell you what, a lot of how I view things is came down from my parents, and my parents are very service oriented. They were all about, you know, you serve, but you stay humble as you serve. One of my favorite things to do is to see people that I've supported or I have encouraged and have them just thrive. That's one of my favorite things to do, is to maybe to guide people in a particular direction and have them just shine. And that's what's been done to me. So many people, when I have gone out there and tried to have a goal for moving forward and I've succeeded, I've had people pat me on the back. So I think being humble is a great sense of character. And that's what I was taught as a child from my parents, and I appreciate them. And that's who I have as my family. My husband is extremely supportive of me, just like I've been of him. We're a team, and he still calls me his girlfriend.
I've seen that, and it confused me. I was like, wait a minute, they have the same last name. Aren't they married? Like, why is he calling his wife his girlfriend? But
because we're still as though we're maybe we're still dating, and so that's what I like about it.
It's worked. How long you been married? You said 30 years.
We'll be 35 years in December, and we still really like each other.
I guess the key to a happy marriage is to never acknowledge that you're actually married. Being boyfriend and girlfriend.
I still keep him around, but we actually have a lot of projects that we do together, and so we really enjoy that. But I know I'm involved with a lot of things and I wear a lot of hats, but they're the things that I really enjoy and I believe in. And this is one of, I've just felt as though this role in running for Marion County Commissioner is something that I can serve in a different way. I can use some talents that I've gained from other organizations, other roles I've done. And I just feel like this is a time for me to be able to serve and dedicate some time to this community in a different way. And I know I will do a good job in this role. So I'm asking people to lend me their vote for this election, and I will promise to dig in and do my best for them.
Excellent. We got a few more. I don't know if you have to run or if you got a little bit more time, we can kind of go over just a few more things.
Well, I did want to talk about a few things coming up with me, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, sure.
I just have some things that I'd like people to be aware of. That early in-person voting is starting on April 7th. So it's coming up really quick. So I want people to think about going to the polls and actually having a voice. I know we were having a 4-person primary, but also, you can pull a Republican ballot and vote for me. I think having a choice, because right now there's no Democratic candidate. I think having a choice between one of the 4 of us, I think it's everyone being able to exercise their right to vote. So I'd ask them to send their vote my way. They're also, so the actual, what's that?
You're asking for the Dems to vote for you?
I think the community needs to vote for me. I'm asking for Republicans to vote for me, but I'm asking the community to vote for me. So
okay.
It's definitely a Republican primary. So, but for instance, my parents feel very strongly about me as a candidate, and they're going to send me their vote my way. So, but the actual primary election is May 5th. But like I said, the early voting is April 7th. I'm actually hosting a fundraiser to move me a little forward. It's going to be at the Nest by Yellowfinch Creations. So the old Whitey's building. So that's going to be on March 11th. It's a Wednesday from 5 to 8. We're going to have food, fellowship, and fundraising for me. So I would really appreciate some support there. And if anybody wants to get a hold of me, the best way is through an email account. It's set up as Christy Neff 4 Marion @gmail.com. I'm setting up a Facebook page very soon, but they can always message me privately if they'd like to too. But I welcome questions. So if people are interested in, getting a hold of me to find out more about me, I'm very happy to do that. But I also want feedback. So I'm asking people to give me their stories of what they feel might be the needs in the county, but also give me the praise too of good situations that they've heard of in the county. I will say from all of the visits that I've had so far, and I still have many to do, I will say that you've got some pretty great county officials right now. You have people behind the scenes that are working for this county, and they're working very hard. I really do feel like we've got some great employees that are looking at themselves as a team for this community, and they're working really hard to make sure it runs very efficiently. So when things need to change as far as costs, they are actually the ones, the boots on the ground right now, that are looking into making those changes. So behind the scenes, it's actually happening because they know that we're in a situation that's going to become a little more in our face very soon.
Robert?
So,
Yeah, Chrissy, no, we appreciate that. We like to let everybody, hear that information so they can make informed decisions. One of my last questions is, and you made a great point that this is a 4-way race. What would you say to people listening today? What separates you from the pack? What would be the reason why they should vote for you?
well, to be really honest, I think I have a skill set of bringing people together. And my focus is to bring people together to move Marion County forward in a positive direction. And I know that might just be people saying, oh, well, those are just fluff words, but they're not. I really think that we are headed in a good direction. We have the city that is moving in a positive direction. I believe the county and the city working together and focusing on our neighbors and what's best for the community as we look beyond what's right now. We've got to think about the generations to come. And that's what worries me, is like, if right now we can't handle what's in front of us, how are they going to handle it down the road? And I believe that I've got the skill set to bring this forward. And I believe that I'm the best candidate for this election coming up.
All right, before you go, Chrissy, we gotta show this to you. This has got to sink in across the fruited plain of Marion County, just the level of spending. So look at this chart. Can you see that on the screen?
I do.
This gives a comparative analysis between the actual administrative cost increases at Marion County government compared to our neighboring counties, Crawford County, Delaware County, Union County, Moore County. Who leads the pack despite a decline in population? Marion County, 189.55% increase in those expenditures. We already talked where it came from. It came in salaries and benefits, a hiring spree that they went on during that 3-year period. Total cost increase of about $3.8 million to the budget. Does that concern you? I mean, it should concern everybody.
Absolutely, it concerns me. And that's where I think we need more information. We need to figure out what is the cause, why we've gone to this massive amount of increase, and the comparisons between the other counties. I still think, I know I've said it before, but I feel like it's a dig in situation. We've got to dig in and figure out what's happening. And come up with some solutions, because we can't head in this direction forever. We won't function. I
The
agree.
Swamp Fox is dug into pretty much every aspect of the budget. So folks, check out the Swamp Fox's Facebook page, because there's many more charts, graphs, data from audits and any other source that you can think of at the local level, and typically in a comparative analysis format. It is hiring. It is, and it's not something that you would think like the courts. It's not common pleas court. I mean, there's increases there as well, but it's in departments that you're like, what? Why do they have this huge increase in the treasurer's office? I think treasurer's was the number one, if I recall. But got to get a handle on it. And people, the local government, county government, you need people that are going to ask questions. They're not just rubber stampers. Again, otherwise we might as well have one of those Mercury birds that go up and down, the Homer Simpson. You know, were you a Simpsons fan growing up, Christy?
My moments.
The episode where
Episodes.
he gets like morbidly obese, and then he gets one of those Mercury birds to fill in for him at work, just because it would go down and hit a button periodically. You know, that's not what we need in the commissioner's office. We need people who are going to ask questions and make good decisions. So
Amen. But it's got, like you said, it has to be asking questions with solutions. So it's actionable. It can't just be where you're drawing attention to something. You ask a question so that other people can come up with a solution. You've got to be actionable. You've got to be boots on the ground, and you've got to figure out how to move forward.
Amen. Well, Christy, we appreciate all the time that you have given us tonight. Boys, I think we can stay on for another 15 minutes or so, kind of do a wrap up or that sort of thing if you want. There's some other things to talk about, but Christy's given us enough time. She's probably tired of us. She's like, oh, I got to be on this show with these three guys, you know, and I'm the only chick on here. So
Can handle you.
Thank you so much for joining us, Christy, and good luck in the campaign and on the campaign trail. And I'm sure that you'll be on here before, we hope so, come back on and share with us how the campaign is going.
Well, you've actually been my first stop, so I appreciate the opportunity, and I'll be moving on and using what I learned from you as I move forward too. So
always here to help at the Watchman's Report. Whatever we can do to help our guests, we're more than happy to. So, Christy,
well, like I said, I'm a collaborator, so I definitely need input, and then we come up with solutions. So I appreciate you guys' time.
All right. Have a good night.
Thanks, Christy.
Thank you,
Christy.
All right, folks, that was Christy Neff in her debut appearance on the Watchman's Report as she engages on the campaign trail, running as the Republican primary candidate for Marion County Commissioner. So we hope you enjoyed learning more about Christy and her background, experience, and her vision for the office of Commissioner. So, Robert, what are your thoughts with Marion County's current situation? We spend a lot of time kind of talking about Marion City, but Marion County kind of just snuck in there, you know, at the last second, undetected, and said, "Hey, don't forget about us. We're messed up too." You know?
Yeah, it's like they want to one up the city of Marion at this point, you know. You know, who can spend the most money at this point? And it's like a game of Russian roulette at this point. I mean, in the screenshots you were pulling up there, I mean, it really is very telling about the salaries. I mean, just huge increases in salaries. And it's like, you know, who's been driving the ship here? I'm frankly concerned for them, because
the bird has been driving the ship.
Yeah, for having a county government, you know, struggling at the same time our city government is struggling. You know, and at least, you know, with the city government, we know like they were kind of shooting themselves in their own foot with the software issues. I can't say the same thing for the county government. There's no no issues that we know. And I know we're going to continue digging into that, but it just seems like they just it was, runaway expending.
It really was. And Christy's right. And Aaron Rollins brought this up at the meeting. He was absolutely correct in the statement that these local governments got flushed with cash by the state and federal government during COVID. But instead of being responsible with that and not drastically increasing with all these discretionary expenses, that's what they did. They were completely irresponsible with it. And they said, oh, shit, we're rich. We're rich. Let's go buy this and hire this person and buy this and hire this person across the board. And that's what they did. And then when that money ran out, which it has, they're operating with those really high expenditure budgets. But yet their revenues have dropped. So, it'd be like, I don't know, somebody going up to your little kid or something and giving them a bag of candy. A smart kid is going to ration that, instead of just sitting there gorging themselves, going through that bag, eating it all at one time. And that's pretty much what local governments did. And it's all there. You want to do the research has been done for you.
Yeah.
It was a hiring spree, and that's what it was. And if there's another article on the Swamp Fox, check it out, where it breaks it down by department, so staff levels by department. And again, it's not something where everybody, they use the emotional argument, oh, we need more sheriff's deputies, or we need more police officers, or fire, or whatever. No, there was increases there too, but it's in these these kind
random
of boring,
budget lines.
Yeah, these boring departments like the treasurer's office or the auditor's office, or something like that. And you're like, well, hell, the population is declining. What more work could they be doing as far as a volume basis? There isn't.
Yeah.
And yet you hired 20 more people or whatever it is. Yeah. So they got to get that under wraps. And this whole, we talked about that last night with Twyla Lang. There's been many people in government that want to say, well, I don't want to lay anybody off. We're not, and no, you're not looking to lay people off. I don't think even the most cold-hearted person, like me, would sit there and say, hey, I get pleasure out of ruining lives. I want to just fire everybody in sight. No, nobody's talking about that. Nobody would take pleasure in that.
Yeah.
But government does not exist to give anybody a job. Government exists to provide the services that a private individual cannot provide themselves.
And protect
and
rights.
That's it. Infrastructure, police protection, fire protection. That's pretty much the only thing that's legitimate, and just the administrative, aspects of those functions, those legitimate functions. But to say we don't want to we hired all these 80 more people in the last 3 years or whatever it's been. We don't want to let any of them go. No, that cannot be your concern, is to maintain everybody's employment that has been given a public sector job.
Well, and I think people need to be reminded too that this spending with the county, this is happening on the watch of people who have been in office for many years. I mean, this isn't like rookie commissioners or a rookie auditor. I mean, we have a county auditor that's been in there. I think she's been in there since 2008, up until the county treasurer just got replaced this past election. I think Jan Draper, she was in there for quite a while too. Andy Applefeller, he's been in there over 20 years now, I think.
25.
Yeah. And I think Andy's a nice guy. I've never had any issues with him. But we need to be able to call a spade too. This is just runaway spending. If we don't talk about it, we can't solve it. So we need to be able to address those issues and find out what it is. You've already pointed that out with these posts from the Swamp Fox, runaway spending. They're not matching it with revenues either. What was it? 4.5 million is the deficit there. I mean, like I said, they're trying to beat the city of Marion. And to Colin's credit, we've already talked about how a good portion of their overspending is because of the prior administration having all their bills come due. And then when you have a faulty software and trying to balance and know what's going on within the software, it's probably hard to know how much money you are actually spending. So it's kind of like, we just have a lot going on right now. I mean, we have water issues, and we just kind of sound like the people that are sounding alarm bells. But if not for us, I mean, who else is sounding the alarm bells?
Nobody. Everybody else is saying the water's fine, drink it. Unless and until Aqua Ohio says that there's a problem, then drink up and enjoy it. That's what you get from the other so-called media in the city of Marion. No, we broke that and said, hey, look, this ain't right. Something's going on here. And then we put it in historical context. We put it in, political context, economic context, health context, you name it. And now the problem is still there.
Mm-hmm.
People are still complaining about like the water issue and stuff like that. And as far as any of these topics that we bring up for discussion or that we research, we publish on, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You may not have an admission. You may not have somebody coming out there and making an official statement, from one of these corporations or government officials. But that's the essence of investigative journalism. You're not going to have, if there's some intrigue or corruption or something, how often is it where they say, hey, we've been doing this to you. We've been screwing you over and committing this and that crime. So we're making a statement on it, an admission. No, that doesn't happen. It takes somebody looking into things. That's where the watchman, somebody out on watch, comes into play. If I just want somebody to be a what do they call those? The press secretary, for the government, then I can listen to a certain left-wing podcaster. If that's all I want to do. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on. It's hard to keep track of everything, Robert. I mean, honestly, between City of Marion, County of Marion, Auditor of State, the water issues, state level stuff, federal level, every day brings some other breaking news story of relevance to the people living in this part of the Buckeye State. So it's hard to keep track of everything,
It really is. We're doing our best, guys. We're all volunteers here. We're not doing this for a living. So there's, if anybody's wondering, what incentive we have. This is just, a couple guys that care about their community, and we want our community to thrive. There might be some people out there that think we're just hot button issue people. We've heard that from the left wing podcaster out there, that Sean guy or whatever his name is. We genuinely care about our community, and that's why we bring these issues to you. We're really appreciating the engagement. I mean, a lot, obviously everyone else feels the same way.
Yeah, it's been a really good feedback, and we'll continue to provide top-notch content here, not only in article form on Operation Marion Watch, Marion Patriots Network, and then our buddy over there, the Swamp Fox, he's kicking ass, a lot of finance and that sort of thing. But we've got a good team, and we'll continue to publish good articles and do this show, the Watchman's Report, because it is important. If you don't have a citizenry who is aware and actively engaged, then you don't have a functioning representative government. You need people to be engaged, to hold your elected representatives accountable. And that's the only way it works, is if you yourself do your duty and are involved. And just like tonight with the commissioner's race, hope you learned, came away with something from that interview with Christy Neff. We hope to bring on the other candidates. So Tim Mooney, also probably extended an invitation out to Ken Stuyvesant. Now, Ken was commissioner before, and he's trying to get his seat back. He actually lost that seat. He was primaried by Mark Davis, who has decided not to run for another term. So it's actually Mark Davis, it's his seat that's up this time. So Ken Stuyvesant is trying to get that back. And then Jason Schauber, I doubt that Schauber will come on. Do you, Landon?
He's welcome to come on anytime. I
He's
have no
welcome to
problem.
come on. Yeah.
I have no problem talking to Schauber.
I don't either. Again, I try to be fair. Like
Yeah,
I say,
we've had Democrats on here before, so if he wants to come on, he's more than welcome to come on.
Yeah, yeah. But do your research. It is an important role.
Right.
And it's one that it's not just if you live outside of the city of Marion that it's relevant to you. It's the entire county at that particular position. So, and I do think that you've had a period of time where it has kind of been rubber stamped at the county level for these expenditures, appropriations. You need people. It should be, the mentality should be like, no, unless you present a convincing argument to me as to why you deserve XYZ. It should, that should be the mentality of pretty much any government
Right.
official. Is your duty is to protect the taxpayers' hard-earned dollars and only engage in legitimate government activities. And that's where this whole philosophical thing, that's why, I keep bringing that up with people, Robert, is to say, who is it a legitimate government purpose to engage in economic development activity? And if so, what does that consist of? So is it the idea of like a public-private partnership like Can Do? Is it a strictly government activity of the director of economic development that they had proposed as a joint venture between the county and the city? So it'd be a strictly government activity or venture to try to increase. Government doesn't doesn't create economic development. It's private capital. It's the free market. It's people saying, do I want to, will I make more money if I build my factory or business in Marion, Ohio, or Marion County, or Hancock County in the city of Findlay, or Lima, or any of these other counties or cities that are kicking our asses when you look at gross domestic product, retail sales, when you look at manufacturing, when you look at all these different metrics that are publicly available. This data is publicly available through the Ohio Department of Development. And then you can also pull their individual county audits through the auditor of state. And that's what government can do. It can have attractive policies from a financial standpoint. Again, it's that whole notion of from a field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. If you build a community that has favorable tax policies and in a favorable regulatory environment, people will come, especially from Marion, being so damn close to Delaware and Columbus, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, but you get a lot of bureaucrat, big government types that think that it's their job, and they ignore tax policy and regulatory environment because they're bureaucrats. They think we can dictate economic development. Well, you can't dictate economic development, Robert.
Right.
You look like you're about to fall asleep, man.
No, man, I'm listening to you, bro.
Oh, you were sick.
This is
You
your
were sick. Are you
monologue.
feeling any better?
I was. Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit better, but you know how it is when you're kind of towards the end of it, you still feel some of those effects. But no, man, I'm listening to you. This is your monologue, okay? I'm just in the house.
We need a good rant from you sometime, like a good, 60-second, 120-second rant. You ever just want to rant, Robert?
Yeah, I'm just like anybody else. I like to have my rants. But
is Jay still alive?
He's still alive.
Yeah, I'm listening.
He's
I'm
still
over here
alive.
distracted with the white coats.
Oh, okay. You're kicking some Dr. Tail then, huh?
That's right.
All right. Well, I won't interrupt you from that, but yeah, I think pretty good show tonight. Getting Christy Neff on here, and let's see. Do we have anybody for tomorrow?
No, we didn't schedule anybody tomorrow. I thought we were
No.
going to try to do like a national show.
Yeah. Let's do a national show. Yeah, I know a certain councilman who may or may not be viewing tonight's episode. After we ended last night's show with Twyla Lang, and we dismissed for the evening, he commented on there and said, "Oh, you guys should cover the State of the Union and show it on the screen and comment." We should have done that.
Yeah.
We totally
Yeah,
should.
we can do that.
know
Definitely.
We really should have.
Yeah, it would have gone till 11 o'clock at night because I think that was the longest State of the Union ever. But yeah, man, that would have been great, especially that scene that I brought up tonight. And again, I think it's completely appropriate when you're talking about somebody who is a reformed Democrat to say this is an example of why you said you left the Democrat Party. And it was. If you cannot, they sit there on their asses with a scowl on their face or screaming, criticisms and stuff during the entire duration of the State of the Union. And then on something like that, a question saying, the main role of the American government is to protect the American people and to protect and promote the American people and not illegal aliens. And then they came and stand up and show support for that question. So that, to me, that said a lot. Like, we know that they hate us. They have contempt for native-born Americans.
While you're on that, maybe we could have saved this for tomorrow, but I might as well because you wanted a rant, right? So
yeah,
let's talk about Gavin Newsom for a second, because this guy, the audacity of this guy, did you see when he was talking? I don't know, he's at some forum, right? He's up on stage, he's got his legs crossed like a female and, talking about whatever. And then, he gets up there and talks about how, and I think they said that most of the people in the audience were African-American, right? And he gets up there and talks to these people and he talks down to them and he says, "I'm like you. I got a 9 something SAT score," and basically calling himself dumb and said, he couldn't read. And he said, "I'm like you." And it's like what is this like 1865 Democrat Party again? Because I literally felt like I was going back in time, and I'm like, how do minority groups view him now after that? Because I seen something, a few articles where some of those people, and even in his own camp, he was coming under fire by them. I mean, that's just even if it was just a gaffe by him, I mean, that maybe it's how he really feels. I don't know. Did you see that, or you have any thoughts on that, Cody? Because
I didn't see that particular clip, but they'll make excuses and then they'll try to hush it up and keep it, from getting out. Because watch Joe Biden clips from the 1970s. That's all I can say. You want to talk about how the Congressional Black Caucus and everything else can make excuses and can turn the other cheek over past transgressions and stuff. Joe Biden 1970s clips. Just look it up. If they had anything like that on any conservative or any Republican white candidate, oh my God, you wouldn't hear the end of it. Oh, and just like Newsom, they'll make excuses and they'll continue to support him. I would say the good Reverend Jesse Jackson would have probably kissed his ass too, but Jesse Jackson is dead now, so we don't have to worry about that asshole peering up to engage in socialist commentary. So I don't know. Any other rants from the State of the Union?
No, man. I think we'll have at it tomorrow. It should be a good show.
All right. Be sure to tune in tomorrow night, folks, on the Watchman's Report, where we're going to delve deep into the commentary on national politics and probably talk even more about the State of the Union address from last night. So you won't want to miss it. Hopefully, we'll have Richard McDonald on that show as well, because Richard's a sharp cat, man. He really stays on top of things. Especially at the state and federal levels. So be interesting to hear from Richard too tomorrow night. So, all right. So for Jason Foreman, Robert Landon, I'm Cody Higley. This has been the Watchman's Report. And remember, folks, a watchman is always vigilant. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Sound the alarm! To arms! They are here!